Welcome to A Life Without Parole. I'm Amy, and today we're going to be talking about one of the most curious cases I have ever covered. And this one is a bit on the cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs side. Let's just say that. We are talking about Nicholas Rossi. Maybe it's Nicholas Rossi, Rousey, whatever it is. And here's the thing. This guy's been on the lam for a while. He had a hearing in Provo today, and let's just say this, the gig is up. You might wonder, who is Nicholas Rossi? Well, he goes by a lot of different aliases over the years. He's moved from town to town, changing his name, changing his image to hide from crimes, alleged crimes that he's committed. Then those started to catch up with him, so he moved to a different state. Then he moved from state to state to state, allegedly committing crimes all along the way. Eventually, again, this is all allegations against him, he staged his own death. Well, that's one way to get the police off your trail, correct? And he moved to a different country. Now, why is this so crazy? Well, there's been a lot of different episodes, shows, news channels that have done stories on him because it is a curious case. When he was on Dateline, when he's been on, I'm just telling you, there's been a lot of episodes. I'm going to show you a few things about him. But the main thing to note here is he thinks he can hide himself, change his hair, change his appearance, and no one will know who he is. This guy is such a good chameleon. I mean, it's kind of like Superman, you know? When you watch Superman and you're thinking, oh, I can't even tell that this is the same person. I mean, you put glasses on, comb your hair, put on a suit. How could anyone possibly tell this is the same person? I mean, look at them. They don't look the same at all. Yeah, right. At least in the comics. But look at him. He has a way of just completely manipulating you into thinking he's a different person because look, changed his glasses. He has a beard, combed his hair different. Who would possibly be able to tell this is the same person? No, it doesn't matter that the DNA matches, fingerprints match, tattoos match. No. This is comical that he thinks he can get away with this. I know people say, why are you so upbeat? This is a terrible case. And it is. Believe me, I feel so bad for the victims in this case. And the only reason that I'm making light is the ridiculousness of the alleged criminal. Certainly not the acts that he committed. It's like Nicholas thinks he's in an episode of the series You from Netflix, where someone disguises themselves, moves to another country, and nobody knows who they are. In fact, the ridiculousness is just beyond measure. He puts a blanket over his head, wears his pajamas in public. It's almost like he thinks he can just cover his eyes, and as long as he's not seeing anyone, they can't see him. It's just crazy. Nicholas, the gig is up. He can hide himself, change his hair, change his appearance, and no one will know who he is. There's just one problem with that, and that is DNA. You can't hide from your DNA. So I want to give you a little preview about him, and then we'll discuss what happened at his hearing today.
Bizarre scene unfolding in a Utah court. Lawyers for this man, Nicholas Rossi, who's accused of faking his own death using a lot of different aliases. His lawyers telling the judge their client refused to appear for his hearing in his rape trial. Rossi is accused of faking his death and fleeing to Scotland to avoid those charges. Nick Smith has the latest for us. Nick, what you hearing?
Marky, I ain't the man you say I am, so I'm not showing up for court. That is the message Nicholas Rossi's non-appearance sent to Utah's 4th District Court. The judge forced to reschedule Rossi's hearing for February 6th, warning he would use reasonable force to make sure Rossi appears for his hearing on charges of rape. He was scheduled to appear remotely from jail Tuesday afternoon, but lawyers soon said Rossi refused to leave his cell. Defense attorneys could not answer whether Rossi missed his appearance because of illness. The judge saying if Rossi wasn't sick, he has no good excuse for not showing up. Rossi made his first court appearance last week, seen with an oxygen mask and speaking with a thick British accent. He insists his name is actually Arthur Knight and that this is a case of mistaken identity. We spoke to a criminal defense attorney about what the judge would do if Rossi continues to miss court dates.
They'll physically bring him into the courtroom against his will. And, you know, we'll see how he acts when he's in the courtroom. That doesn't mean he'll stay in there. If he starts acting, you know, in a contemptuous way, the judge will obviously not stand for that either. But the judge will know that he appeared at least.
Markey, Tuesday's hearing was the latest episode of an odd and unpredictable behavior pattern by Rossi, the man who continues to deny he is the man DNA evidence provided by the Utah State Crime Lab says he is. ID also due in court on Friday, facing a second rape charge. Markey?
The story that just gets curiouser and curiouser. Nick Smith, thanks so much.
All I can say is this. He skipped his hearing a couple of weeks ago because he just decided not to appear. And the judge seemed shocked. He doesn't get this very often. What do you mean he's not coming to the hearing? So today, he didn't get a choice. Let's take a peek.
Called the Rossi matter. State of Utah versus Nicholas Rossi, 2219-06768. Counsel, please state your appearances.
Sam Dugan for Mr. Rossi. I will note that he goes by Arthur Knight, so that's how I will be referring to him.
Okay.
Tamara Vasquez for the state.
All right. We are informed from Utah County that he has refused to appear today. Ms. Dugan, how would you like to proceed?
As I've been following this case, I realized that Nicholas Rossi is actually facing charges on two separate cases, and they're sort of happening simultaneously. Both cases, one's in Salt Lake, one's in Provo, have him scheduled to be seen. And in both cases, his initial appearance, he declined. This is not really an option, but he did it anyway. These two different hearings were several days apart, and he did the same thing to both judges. Both judges were not used to this kind of behavior. In both cases, both judges were not happy with that answer, and they compelled him to be in court at the later date, one of which was today. And when I say they compelled him, that means they gave the option to use reasonable force to make sure he attends. So today, he did attend. It wasn't actually said whether he was compelled to be there or if he finally decided to come, but there he was, remotely. And just like the other hearing that he went to, he was unintelligible through his oxygen mask. He was appearing on two different charges, and a representative for the state of Utah requested the second charge be dismissed, which Poland agreed to. Judge Poland scheduled a waiver hearing for March 1st before Rossi, whom Bastian referred to him as Knight, was being seen taken away in his wheelchair by a Utah County jailer. Rossi is charged with assault of two women in 2008 in Utah County and one in Salt Lake County, several years before he staged his death and left the country, which of course we now know he was later found alive and living under the alias Arthur Knight in the UK, claiming to be rich, that he inherited a lot of money, which is ironic since he won't pay his attorneys. The behavior panel has done an episode on him, and in fact, they just did another update about him. It's interesting. Let me show you what they said.
We have some great videos that each one of us has loved this or that, and we've picked our number 3, our number 2, our number 1. We'll start off with number 3. We'll tell you why we like it, and then we'll discuss it, and then we'll play a clip.
Mark, why don't you go first? We'll just go right around the little circle there. Mark, what's your third favorite?
Okay, third favorite, and I know, Scott, we collided a little bit on that, which makes me feel good. Makes me feel good that, I'm not a loner out there enjoying this character. Guy called Nicholas Rossi. Do you all remember Nicholas Rossi? This is the guy who kind of disguised himself up like Billy Bunter, who was or a bit like, our Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Essentially, what interests me about this is you can't even get past lying if you disguise yourself as somebody else, take on different names, put on a fake accent. He even covers his face with an oxygen mask, so he pretends to have an illness as well. I believe that's what they call psychologically malingering, and and he gets himself into a new relationship, and he's trying to escape essentially being extradited to the US, where he's charged with some pretty serious crimes. So I just love this because of the comic nature of it and the disguises he puts on, and why he thinks we can't just see past this immediately. I have no idea. He's an utter clown. Chase, do you remember this guy? Is he in your memory somewhere?
Yeah. And the name, you call that a name, like Billy Bunter.
Billy Bunter.
And we Googled that in the episode, and that was incredible. What I loved about it was the layers of not lying, but the layers of deception. And deception and lying are different things. And it was like a mask covering up a person with a fake name, pretending to be another person, pretending to be another citizen with a fake accent, also pretending not to have committed all these crimes, and then lying about the entire thing. That's the deepest, onion that I've ever seen. Even outside the panel, all the videos I've ever looked at, that's the most layers of deception I've ever seen. Great.
It's like a squirrel trying to be a turtle, trying to be a duck, pretending to be a person. Or something, or something.
It's failing at all of it.
Chase, my choice of vegetables is different from yours. I think he's a potato, like Mr. Potato Head, because he kept adding little things like we couldn't see through it. And every one of us has had a Mr. Potato Head. We know that under there's this big old potato. And this guy was one of the worst liars we've ever seen. He found more things. He falls down, can't get up, all kinds of crazy things, just to make us believe it, because his wife is there to rescue him. I would have liked to seen, Mr. Potato Head fall on the floor, and let's see how he gets up from there. But yeah, to me, this is one of the wacky ones too. So Mark, thanks for choosing that one. Scott, what do you think?
Yeah, the thing I liked about it, and the reason I chose it, was because we're seeing someone trying to preserve their ego as they're trying to preserve their freedom. So he's doing two things here at the same time. Because I think this cat isn't he already in the hole now? He's in the pokey now?
I think so.
Yeah, he's being extradited to the U.S. last I heard. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's just funny seeing him do that. It's literally looks like Mark was saying, like a clown, like somebody doing a bit, like a Saturday Night Live bit or something, when they're making fun of somebody. It looks so over the top that it's incredible. It's just hilarious. And everything out of his mouth, of course, has to be a lie. Has to be, it's deceptive. Because he's trying to protect this thing, the turtle behind the squirrel, behind the clown, So that's what I thought was the funniest, my third favorite.
One thing I can say, the behavior panel tends to get it pretty right. Is this guy actually a chameleon, or is he being wrongfully accused? He's just changed aliases around and thinks that he can just change his appearance, look different, and no one will know. Or do you think after all these years, he's finally going to be held accountable? And my guess is he's going to once again go from town to town, state to state, country to country, but this time to face charges. What do you think? That's kind of a crazy case, isn't it? I'm going to keep a close eye on it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, because that's how you're going to know when new content comes up, and ring that bell to all. I'll see you soon. See ya.